Wayland Bicephus says, anyone want to buy Phoebe Waller-Bridge's missing funny bone? I'd give a good price, hardly used. Anyway, favourite Irish whiskey. I never drink Irish whiskey, not because I boycott it or anything. I just never get round to it. Really, I've got plenty of good Scottish stuff here. But yeah, like I'm reliably told that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is really good at writing. Like apparently Fleabag is excellent and she's quite
That's what I
funny
hear.
and it's very like raw and honest and like that's lovely. But she's like. It's like what they did with Ricky Gervais, right? They took this really successful British comedian and they tried to fit him into the Hollywood mold, but like also retain the things that made him funny and interesting in the first place. And it doesn't work.
His
No,
Hollywood
also-
ear is weird. He's got like a whole string of films that are just, they're not what he wants to do.
It's the type of comedian as well. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is pretty good, I'd say. Or certainly, if Fleabag is any evidence, she's a good observational comic, and she's good at observing the things that are around her in her day-to-day life. So the thing that makes Fleabag so successful is that she is wittily observing things which are so familiar to not only her character, but to a whole cast of people who have very similar experiences. The main character in that is so incredibly normal. The only thing that stands out really is that she's wittily observing how normal everything is, or how abnormal the normal is. But she's not in any conceivable way like an imaginative comic. She can't be put into a situation like Star Wars or Indiana Jones and told, right, be funny within this context, because she doesn't live that context, so she's not observing, so she can't imagine. And that is, I think that's the reason everything she does, which is not just her own projection, is awful. And when she does try to project into something where she doesn't belong, so Star Wars being an example, Indiana Jones being another one, it always falls so flat at best and is incredibly cringy at worst, because that's just not what she's good at. She doesn't have much of an imagination, I don't think.
This is such a stereotype, right, around female comedians, but it's also really fucking true that, like, basically their entire act almost always revolves around sex and relationships. It's just, like, stuff that they've literally done because they can't, like, imagine anything else, and they can't project it, like, into anything beyond that.
Is that the South Park thing when Cartman tries to get Wendy to be a comedian and he says, just moan about your period and say my vagina a lot, and that's it.
I mean, like, people like
Schumer.
Amy. Yeah, well, she took that to its like logical conclusion, where it's like, I'm literally going to tell you how my vagina smells. It's like, okay, I guess that could be considered funny. Like, I don't know what a normal person gets out of something like that. But yeah, it's an odd one. But yeah, she's obviously got her specific niche that she was really successful in. But then you try and fit that square peg into a round hole, and it just doesn't work. And it's happened to so many other comedians. Every so often, like, America just seems to fall in love with a certain like British writer or British comedian and tries to like suck them into the Hollywood system and fit them into their specific mold, and it never works properly because you've taken away the thing that made them good in the first place.
Well, they
Or
took
a
Hugh
British
Laurie and made
YouTuber.
him do House. That was pretty good.
But I mean, yeah, but he was was he a comedian or so much as an actor who just?
Well,
like,
I mean, sketch comedy, right? Like he's doing. I assume Fleabag could be considered like it's a show that's comedic. There's a broad element there. I'm just saying it's not impossible.
I look at James Corden, for example.
Yeah.
Like, look what happened to him.
Why would
like-
you look at James Corden?
Well, obviously within his specific niche, he's good at what he does. Like he did Gavin and Stacey, and it's like, well, okay, you're good at what you did there. Maybe Ruth Jones did most of the work. I don't know, but then you try and take him and turn him into some Hollywood star, and he's like suddenly doing like these late night talk shows and shit, and it's like, that's not what you're there for. That's not what made you good. And yeah, people just end up fucking hating him for it.
The really only example I can think of where it worked bizarrely well is John Oliver, because John Oliver I don't think was ever particularly well regarded as a comedian in England, and then he goes over to America where he's commonly regarded as, well, I say commonly, he's regarded by a lot of people as being really quite good at what he does, funny and informative on his show. He's one of those rare people who actually benefited from crossing the Atlantic.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought James Corden did benefit like career-wise. It's just everyone thought he was shit.
I mean, I think it was a combination of like,
Isn't John Oliver pretty hated by a lot of
Yes,
people?
he's insufferable.
Oh,
I think he's
yeah, no, I
insufferable,
would
yeah.
agree that he is insufferable, but I think he's polarizing. So for as many people as say he is insufferable, there are quite a lot of people who think he's really good. I wouldn't count myself among them, but they are out there, I'm reliably told.
Yeah, I think with James Corden, it's like he suffered from an excess of ego, and like that just got absolutely amplified 100-fold once he got to America, and yeah, it didn't go well.